Hello everyone, this is Kavita Goyal. Welcome back you all in your science class. Today we are going to start your third chapter, which is about the skeletal system and muscular bones. So without further ado, let's start this chapter.
The skeletal system. Group of organs working together make up a body system like the circulatory system that controls the supply of blood in the body. In this chapter, we are going to learn about the skeletal system. Our skeleton. We know that our body has different types of bones in it. The bones together form a framework called the skeleton. The skeleton protects the delicate internal organs such as the brain, the heart, and the lungs. It gives shape to our body. It also allows movement of our body. When we are born, our skeleton has around 350 bones. When we become an adult, our body has around 206 bones. This is because, as we grow, some of the bones join together. With the growth of our body, more cells increase in our bones and our bones become longer than earlier. Bones. Bones contain blood vessels and nerves. Bones have an outer layer of hard or compact bones, which is very strong, dense, and tough, but inside they have a layer of spongy bones which is lighter and slightly flexible. In the middle of some bones is a jelly-like substance called bone marrow. In the bone marrow, the new cells are constantly produced for the blood. If broken, they repair themselves in several weeks. Our skeleton is made up of the skull, the backbone, the rib cage, the two pairs of limbs, and their girdles to which they are attached. The skull. The skull is the bony framework of the head. It protects our sensitive brain. There are spaces in it for our eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. There are 8 bones in our skull that are interlocked with each other and make the protective frame around the brain. There are 14 facial bones which make the upper and lower jaws and other facial structures. The lower jaw bone is the only movable bone in the face. It enables us to talk, eat, etc. The spine or backbone. Our backbone has 33 small bones called vertebrae that form a very strong column known as the vertebral column or the spinal column, spine. The vertebrae can move slightly through the joints, so we can bend or twist our back. There is a hole in each vertebrae through which the delicate spinal cord passes. The spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. The rib cage. The ribs are thin, flat, curved bones that form a protective cage around the organs on the upper body. There are 24 bones that make 12 pairs of ribs. Our rib cage protects our heart and lungs. The ribs are joined to the backbone at the back. The upper 7 pairs of ribs, called true ribs, are attached to the breastbone in front. The next 3 pairs of ribs, called false ribs, are attached to the lower true ribs in front. The lowest 2 pairs of ribs, called floating ribs, are not connected to any organ in the front. They are smaller than both the true and false ribs. The limbs. Our arms are the upper limbs attached to the spine by means of the shoulder girdle made up of the shoulder blades and collar bones. It consists of three parts: the arm, the forearm, and the hand. The arm is the region between the shoulder and elbow. It consists of a single long bone called the humerus. The forearm is the region between the elbow and the wrist. It consists of two long bones connected firmly to the humerus. The hand consists of three parts: wrist, palm, and fingers. The humerus is the longest bone in our upper limb. The lower limbs, legs, are composed of the bones of the thigh, leg, and foot. The thigh is the region between the hip and the knee. It consists of a single bone called the femur or thigh bone. It is the longest, largest, and strongest bone in the body. The leg is the region from the knee to the ankle. It consists of two long bones called the shin bone and the calf bone. Shin bone is longer than the calf bone. These bones are connected to the femur to form the knee joint. The foot contains many small bones. The bones of the lower limbs are the heaviest, largest, and strongest bones in the body. Because they bear the entire weight of the body when a person is standing in an upright position. Joints. We know that many of our bones are joined together. The place where two bones meet is called a joint. Our skeleton is very hard, but it can bend or move because of these joints. Strong, stretchy bands of tissue called ligaments hold these bones together. There are different kinds of joints in our body that allow different movements. Except for the joints in our skull that are immovable, all other joints are movable. The skull bones are immovable as the 8 bones are interlocked. The lower jaw bone is the exception, which is the only movable bone in the skull. Hinge joint. Try to move your knees and elbows in all possible ways. What do you notice? You are unable to move them in more than 2 directions. This is because our knees and elbows have joints called hinge joints. In hinge joints, convex surface of one bone fits smoothly into concave surface of the second bone. This type of movable joint allows the knees and elbows to move only in 2 directions like a door. The hinge joints are very strong, but they move easily. Our elbows, knees, toes, and fingers have hinge joints. Pivot joint. There is a joint between the skull and the first 2 vertebrae of the spine. It helps to move our head upward, downward, and sideways. This joint is called the pivot joint. In pivot joint, a rounded or conical surface of the bone is inserted into a ring made in another bone. This allows only the rotational movement. Ball and socket joint. Some of the long bones have a round ball-like structure at one end. This ball fits into a socket-shaped, hollow part in another bone. This type of joint allows the maximum movement in every direction and is called the ball and socket joint. Our hips and shoulders have such joints. Gliding joint. Our wrists and ankles have joints that allow the bones to slide over each other so we can move them. Such joints are also found between any 2 vertebrae of the spine. They are known as gliding joints. This kind of joint allows us to bend, turn, and twist our back. If there were no gliding joints in the back, we would feel and behave like wooden puppets. Muscles. Almost half of the weight of our body is muscles. Muscles are the part of our body that allow us to move. They are made of special tissues that can contract or shorten when they receive a signal from the brain. Bones and muscles work together. The muscles are attached to bones by stretchy tissue called tendons. When the muscle contract, they pull on the tendons, which pull on the bones and cause our limbs to move. There are more than 640 muscles and they work together with bones. Care of bones and muscles. Now you can easily understand the importance of bones and muscles in our body. They are responsible for movement in our body. We must keep our bones and muscles in good shape for a healthy life. We should consume calcium and protein-rich food items such as egg, milk, meat, etc. for healthy bones and muscles. We must exercise daily and always sit or stand in correct posture. It helps us to keep the bones developed and strong. We must protect our body while playing, driving, etc. Know this, the ears and nose do not have bones inside them. Their inner supports are cartilage, which is lighter and more flexible than a bone. That is why the nose and ear can bend. Know this, the skull is made up of 8 bones joined together.
So students, that's about it. We have completed your chapter. Now your homework is to read this chapter thoroughly after understanding the concept through this video. Till that, bye bye everyone.